Hey everyone, this is Three Questions with Mike Trigo. There we go, man. Mike, on a Monday, let's go. All right. Mike is the director of the Ohio Leadership Advisory Council, and I am so blessed. I'm actually going to be there at the end of January working with your leadership teams. I know there's a huge focus on MTSS, and I'm really pumped. I love Ohio. I love being there. It's a wonderful state. Big sports state, and I'm not going to ask you. We're recording this before the national championships. I'm not going to ask you. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that's where everyone's thoughts are a little bit, right? Especially
Oh,
clubs.
absolutely. Go Bucks.
All right, okay, all right. Hopefully, let's see how they do. So when we're recording this, hopefully we're coming to a joyous day where they're national champions at that time. So, Mike, if you can tell a little bit about who you are and what you do today, and how you kind of got to that space is a great place to start. And then we're going to get into the three questions.
Hi, George. Appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. Again, I began my career over 40 years ago as a teacher and then ended up in administration, spent 25 years in the Dublin City Schools, exited there as their deputy superintendent, went to the Educational Service Center of Central Ohio, spent 8 years as their deputy, and then ended up with an opportunity to lead the Ohio Leadership Advisory Council. And OLAC, as we're called in the short stints, says, we've been in existence since '07. And, our goal is really to support the work of the Department of Education and Workforce and the Buckeye Association of School Administrators, and really talk about and try to develop tools and resources to help lead shared leadership initiatives and school improvement. It's all about helping those folks who have lots on their plates with a limited amount of time, have access to free resource developed with our partners, and get it into their hands so they can utilize it to make a difference in kids' educations.
Yeah, and you mentioned actually, and we were talking about this before. Dublin City Schools. I was there at the Dublin Literacy Conference, and you mentioned Frankie Siverson, who I was working with, and it was one of my. I still when you mentioned, I was like, I know this, and I looked up, through my emails. It's one of my favorite conferences. One of the reasons why I love Ohio so much. It was a Saturday. I remember very distinctly, and it was so packed. It was people spending their own time really trying to really improve their work in the literacy focus, and so. I just love that you're there. So the Ohio Leadership Council, you talk about this, and a lot of times we have these outside organizations, and people kind of like, not so happy about them. But I know that you guys have made like a huge impact with your organization. What is like some of the work that you're currently doing with districts, supporting them, and supporting to really kind of help kids, in all the schools in Ohio?
Well, George, I mean, our focus is really to create resources and opportunities for folks to grow in that shared leadership and in school improvement. So we really have an expanded professional learning series where we have folks from the field who come in and do sessions for us. They're all virtual. Again, they're all free.
Yeah.
Dealing with critical care for educators in this challenging time, to data and how to use data, to implementing the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System. We had a 5-part series this year, to learning how to what you didn't learn in principal school. So I mean, it's really what we're hearing from the field and from our advisory council about those things. So we're also doing a lot of new video clips with folks from the field, real leaders, real learning, and telling their stories. What are they doing out there? It's hard work these days.
Yeah.
A very diverse group of students coming to school and lots of distractions. So, how are those folks that are getting the work done and getting really good results? How are they getting that stuff accomplished? So we're doing interviews, we're visiting school districts and doing tapings, embedding those into our modules that we have. We have folks we work with Dean's Compact. We have folks in higher ed that are actually using our work in their classrooms. A lot of video clips, good. Again, leaders in the field can use in professional development opportunities. We've got introductory questions. We've got learning activities, discussion questions that they can utilize in professional learning sessions. And the idea is that we know their time's limited. If we can create these great resources and make them available to them at no cost online, that they can take and utilize however they want. I mean, that's really our goal, is try to help and support them, inevitably impact student learning.
You know, one of the things that you said, I think, is really important. I think this is one of the reasons why we do the podcast before the conference is, you know, people can watch this, they can listen to it, it's accessible. And one of the things I really appreciated that you shared was there's already schools in Ohio, there's school districts doing amazing things, but then there's another district that's like, oh, we can't possibly do that. And you can kind of like, well, actually, you can, because this district across the way that you might not know about, you know, that we would have never known about in the past because it was really hard to get information out, hard to share. You can kind of like connect them with each other. So there is that kind of that neatness. And I think that's one of the things I'm really excited about with the conference is having that opportunity to have some conversations so that a lot of people say, oh, like we can't do this. It's like, well, actually you can, and here's how we are, so they can kind of learn from each other. And I think that I remember when I first became a principal, one of the things that was said to me was, you will be so much better of a teacher now that you're a principal because you have the best PD that you could ever get. You can see other teachers teach all the time. And you have and I thought that was really powerful, but then I'm like, but I'm not teaching anymore. So what does this matter to me? And then I realized one of my jobs was to really kind of make those connections, you know, like, hey, I saw this, and actually sharing that information or connecting teachers together. And so it sounds like that's what you're doing, but at a state level, which is really, really empowering. So I absolutely love this. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the conference that's coming up. And I know there's a huge focus on MTSS. I was going through the website, you know, talking about these are all like really big topics: literacy, wellness, you know, for all levels. Actually ensuring that people are prepared for whatever opportunities come their way, whether it's going to college, whether it's new opportunities. Like, what is the goal of this event, and like who should actually be a part of it? Who should attend?
Well, I think the idea here is to have a vast exposure for folks. I mean, one of the things you pointed out, George, I think is real important is at our conference, we're going to have presenters from all aspects of education. We've got urbans, suburbans, and rurals. We've got elementary, middle, high school. We've got teams presenting. You know, we have 22 teams that are coming and telling their stories. What are they doing in their districts that are having huge impacts? And where they're seeing growth and support of kids. We have two keynotes. Luckily, we have you joining us, and we also have Steve Goodman and Jennifer Pierce, who are joining us to talk about MTSS, those big picture items. So it really is, again, about more of the real story. You know, it's one thing to be able to see things or read things online, but to be able to have those interactions is one of the reasons we brought the conference back in person this year. It's the first time in about 5 years we've been in person. We've been virtual, and everybody said, you know, we want to get together. We want to discuss these things. We want to pick each other's mind. That's really where the learning happens. So we're really excited to be able to bring that back. And again, in a one-day free conference downtown Columbus at the convention center, where folks can listen to those who are doing the work, can share ideas, can get ideas to go back and to foster in their home districts, and be able to know where they can go and get resources to be able to help accomplish those tasks that they're laying out in front of themselves.
Yeah, and I was actually looking up the bios of the other keynotes, and I'm feeling pretty lucky that I'm there too, because they know their stuff. So I think when you're talking about this, you know, a lot of times you have, you know, school districts in different areas, different communities, whether it's like a large center, like a small town, and the mentality is, well, we can't do that thing because that's this type of school or whatever. And the way that I've always approached, you know, when I'm speaking and working with groups is that, listen, I'm not here to tell you what to do, because I really believe that, first of all, I don't want to be told what to do. I'm a little bit like that. And all I'm here is to share ideas. But the reality of it is you have to take those ideas and then figure out how does this work for you? How do you mold that? Like, how do you use, what do you not use? And take that. And so I think even though you have communities that are very, very different and serving, different populations, it doesn't mean that you can't learn from each other. It's like that you have to kind of take it and mold it to the community. And so the last question I have for you, and this is kind of putting me on the spot because I know this is being sent out to the community as well that's attending the conference. If I do a good job, at the conference, kind of setting up for the rest of the day, and and one of the things I really appreciated, your team was very open to like not just me talking for an hour, but actually like, hey, let's like get people in conversations. Let's kind of figure out what the participants in the room, what they need so that we can, really adapt to them on the fly, not just kind of say like, hey, here, we want to personalize learning to all of our students, but we're going to like totally decide before you even walk in the room what we're going to do for you. So I really appreciate that. So on that day, for me as someone who's presenting there that day, starting off the day, what does that look like to you if I do a good job? Which is like, whatever you say, I hope I can do it.
Yeah, well, I think, George, for both our perspectives, the Department of Education, Workforce, and OLAC, one of the key prefaces we have, and one of the reasons why we wanted to have you join us is leadership, because all those other pieces are operational pieces of making things work. But it's really about it's about setting the tone. It's about focusing direction. It's about understanding that it's not a one leader world anymore. It has to be a shared leadership approach. And your messages about inclusive leadership and bringing together the team and the strength of the focus of a group, clearly understanding what their job is, but also understanding each one of them has an important mission and that being accomplished really, really helps all these other things that we're going to be talking about happen. If we don't have all the players understanding what it is that we're working towards and actually being contributing members to that, both up and down through teacher-based teams to building level teams to district level teams, up and down that ladder, it really isn't going to be a successful initiative. As we talked about, we go out and we film groups. We were down in Wilmington not long ago and looking at the district level team. There's lots of teachers, there's lots of administrators, a board member. They're all sitting around a table talking about their 3 goals. What is their work? How are they progressing? It's that monitoring, it's that fidelity to the mission. And whether we go to Wilmington or to Hamilton or to Clearview Local or Marlington or some of these other districts that we've been in, Port Clinton's going to be our district of the year this year. The work that they're all doing is having an impact on students and their achievement and their preparedness for the future. And that's really what it's all about. And, I think your messages about leadership will be crucial to how we cultivate that.
Okay. All right. The last
no
part,
pressure.
No pressure at all. Well, that, the thing that I really, and I've always kind of known this, but it's really been hammered home to me that I know that people, and I always differentiate between the notion of an administrator and a leader. They're not the same thing necessarily, right? Because we have some teachers who are incredible leaders. And if I'm being honest, we have some administrators who aren't so good at that. And there's sometimes a focus like, all your stuff, right? Like, hey, I know all the stuff. I've read all the books. I know the ins and outs of this, but it doesn't really matter if you can't get people to kind of see themselves in that vision, create it together. And that's something that's really important to me is that how do you actually really kind of influence people to move forward in a positive way? And one of the things I really appreciate, and you've kind of talked about this throughout the conversation, it's bringing in people who might have different perspectives and different viewpoints, because a lot of times we are guilty of hiring clones of ourselves, right? Which is not going to move people forward, and it's not going to appeal to certain people. And you tend to Like I always look for people who are really good at things that I knew I wasn't good at because I was already good at my thing. So I got that covered, right? So I really appreciate that. Mike, I will tell you one of the things that I've been so impressed from every meeting with you, because there's sometimes, I know you're not directly in a school district, you're working at a leadership group. I can tell how much you advocate for kids, but through the advocacy of the people that serve them, which I know is so needed right now. And I can feel your like just how excited you are to kind of lead and support the people to do the best they can so they can be as good as they can for kids. So I'm really excited. Thanks for being on the podcast today. I hope that people are listening. If you're at the conference and you listen to the whole thing, which would be amazing, let us know. Let us know in the comments that you're going to be there. But Mike, thanks so much for your time. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day.